the moon reading for this full moon in Taurus from me, Makhosi Nomabutho, here at Sangoma Society, where we demystify the ancestral and the astral. We have a lunar eclipse in Taurus in the North Node. Listen, this is happening after 3 days of the moon being void of course, so the moon making no aspects to any planets, and then boom, into a really significant lunar eclipse where we're seeing a lunar eclipse in Taurus for the first time since November 2021, and also remembering that this Taurus Scorpio axis has been opened since that time in terms of the nodes, and now, the North and South node are moving firmly into Aries and Libra. So we were closing a chapter. This is major, this is deep. We're in also the season of the Phoenix, Scorpio being represented by the Phoenix. We see the latter days of Scorpio as the days of the Phoenix. And that's just, honestly, the way the portals are set up right now. You could time jump into a self that you have not yet even imagined. And what could possibly be more appealing than that? When we think about Scorpio's ruler, Pluto, and being the god of the underworld and healing through death, allowing things to die, letting things end, and appreciating the endings of things, because we know that when these things end, they fertilize what the newness will be. And when I think of the Phoenix and its metamorphosis through fire, how it burns and is born again from the ashes, and I think of this eclipse that we're going into, I think of the opportunity that becomes available to us to allow the lesson to integrate now. The difficulty that the past 24 months may have brought, especially to our fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo. The challenge in seeing the world that you inhibit for what it is, the pain that the falling, the shedding of the scales has been, the confrontational nature of this retrograde season for all of us in revealing what we needed to know, showing us what was really there. It's time to reconcile all of these things, to make peace with it, to live and let die. Let the illusion die so that you can live in the truth of what is right now. There's no use. There's no use. Now, if you're new here, we do these readings in the capacity of ubunyanga bethu, African astrology is a collective work, speaking to the movements of the astral bodies and how they affect us as a collective, how they affect how we relate to the world around us, because it is through our communities that we become. I am because you are. And in the context of who we do these readings for, it's that individual who knows themselves to be affected by the movements of the astral bodies. You know that you can feel something. There's something going on and you want to know more. You want to know why now. And you want to do that in the context of building a deeper relationship with yourself and with your ancestors. If that's you, this is for you. Let's dive in. Okay, so when a moon is full, the sun is in the opposite sign to the sign in which the moon is dwelling. Right now, we're moving towards a full moon in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Venus is currently in Virgo. They say she's not strong in Virgo. Somebody said recently, let's not gender astrology. So I'm going to try to bring that on board today. Pardon me for my pause there. I had just realized I had gendered Venus. And Venus is a planet. There's no need to gender a planet. Let's try. Even though we experience Venusian energy in a way that can be very deeply feminine, or what we have labeled feminine, what is beautiful, what is, when we speak of Venusian, we often speak of beauty, what is materially beautiful, what we can bear witness with our eyes as beautiful. And then we have that as the sign ruling our inner world, where the moon is, and then where our outer world is right now, we have Scorpio, Plutonian. So heavy, secretive, perhaps not so easily perceived, not so easily seen, and yet a big theme that I've seen coming through with this full moon is as above, so below, as below, so above. And I think there's an interesting way in which Scorpio's elements naturally rule what would be our inner world. And right now this comes to the surface, and we have Mars and Scorpio at the moment as well, and there's a Mars opposition with Jupiter. We saw Mars opposing the moon earlier this week as well. So there is that stuff that's in us that's kind of pushing to the surface at this moment, and will be pushing to the surface with this full moon, where we're going to see possibility of really getting a sense of our anger, like being in touch with it. And it's such a profound moment that our anger is brought to the surface at a time when Taurus is saying to us, as an earth sign that can be very pragmatic about the material world, hey, wake up to who you are, to what your capacity is, and let go of certain narratives. And following this eclipse, there's going to be more shifts that are going to force us to release narratives about our victimhood, our helplessness, our lack of control and capacity. And there is, in this moon, this opposition that is asking us to confront these things within ourselves, to confront these truths, and really let the truth of what it is come to the surface. Because there's anger in us that can come from not allowing ourselves to access the full scope of our power. And a lot of what this retrograde season has been, and really the last 24 months has been, is bringing up to the surface, really upheaving a lot of the past, Pluto, a lot of the past, a lot of what is in the inner child, a lot of those themes have been uprooted and like brought to the surface, almost like float sound, just to sit there in our faces. And that has been a difficult confrontation, especially for our fixed signs. But now with this moon, this eclipse, there is release, there is integration, there is the opportunity for acceptance. And when we do this, the opportunity for ascending into a place of power, personal power within ourselves. Isn't that a really good way to go? Whew. My goodness. We spoke a lot in the past few months, especially since the mid-year solstice coming up to now, about not making these rash decisions and taking time to observe what comes to the surface through the retrograde season. And there was this consistent reassurance about, listen, if it's not meant to be, you'll cut it out before Halloween. Well, this is the reason why. This full moon, this eclipse, that's the cutoff point. I mean, if you're not feeling done with it, then it's probably what you're meant to be doing. If you're feeling renewed, like you have a greater desire to focus on certain aspects, then you know that that's what you're supposed to be focused on. If at this moment in time you're feeling like cut, it's almost that even if you try to push through, the way that things are set up, there's nothing really that this moon has come to do except to cut what needs to be cut and let you walk into a path of empowered truth. Everything right now, all the power comes from integrating the lessons that the past 2 years have brought to the surface. When we do that, when we reconcile with these painful lessons and we allow acceptance of what they came to teach, to metabolize these lessons into the wisdom for our next chapter, then there's no bitterness. Then we're not carrying any baggage. We're not taking anything with us into the future. Witness yourself. Witness where you have played victim. And then release it. Rewrite yourself in a new script. Make it up as you go along. You're on this earth to live, and Taurus wants us here, grounded and aware of how we build our lives through our own thoughts, words, and actions. Spoke about this transit that would bring us into a place of more truth. And that is when we're going to see Mercury move into Sagittarius on the 10th of November. That's my birthday. And that's my natal placement as well. But when we see Mercury in Sagittarius, we see an uncanny knack for the truth. Maybe not always well packaged, but definitely honest. And this more honest communication is going to support us in walking into this truth that this future holds, that the possibility of this moment holds. I did say that the end of October into November we're going to start breathing through this retrograde season, and there's a window of opportunity. This eclipse opens that window, and on the 4th of November we have Saturn going direct in Pisces. Like, maybe we can actually get some things done now. Like, maybe it's going to be a little bit easier to get some things done. Maybe, I don't know, okay? But then something amazing is going to happen as well on the 8th of November. Venus is going to go into Libra, which is just going to mean beauty. Libra is Venusian, and it's a natural and strong base for Venus, and it's just going to give us the opportunity to look to our lives with a greater capacity for vision, for envisioning what it is that we want. And that's warming us up to that new moon in Scorpio on the 13th of November. So the astrology is going to shift right now. These few days, this eclipse really has been really difficult. I remember when it started, and it spoke so much to community. This eclipse season as a whole spoke so much to community, and how we participate, and how we show up in our communities, and how we show up in community with ourselves and with our ancestors and with our own narratives. And we had this opposition with Mars and Uranus, and all I saw was war, and it just felt like it is going to get darker before it gets better, and it has. It certainly has. But they say it's darkest before dawn, and there is truth that is coming. The only thing I can see with the shift that we're stepping into with this eclipse is that of truth, that there will be a louder voice for truth. And I hope that's not just me being optimistic, because there are times when I have seen the very positive side. I'm very good at seeing the positive side of transits and not all of the negatives sometimes. And I think that that can be a benefit, because life is hard enough. And I was thinking today how happiness is like a muscle that you have to train, you know, but sadness and pessimism, it's like junk food, and the weight that it makes you gain, it's everywhere, it's prevalent, it's accessible, and it's easier than going to the gym and putting in the work. But it's the other stuff, the stuff that takes a little bit of work, that makes life worth living. So in seeing the upside to this, the downside of what I didn't see with this year's Pluto retrograde, especially retrograding back into Capricorn, I saw the opportunity for preview of, if we don't change, these are the things that could essentially just, cannibalize us within ourselves, within society, as Pluto plans to move out of Capricorn into Aquarius. And I saw this opportunity for building foundation. What I don't think I saw, or what I forgot or glossed over, was how much of foundation is built by excavating the ground. It's like finding rock bottom's basement and digging deeper before we can say, here is the steady ground on which we can build. The rubble, the stuff that was on the surface, it needed to go. It wasn't what we could build on. That is what this eclipse season gave us. The opportunity to see without a shadow of a doubt everything that the veil of the retrograde season cleared for us to see. And now we've had to confront it and see for real that this is what we're up against. This is the reality of what we're in. And just how deep we're going to have to dig for the future that we can make. And with that, I'd like us to get into our journal prompts. Grab your pen and paper. Here's the first one. How can I accept what is and go with the flow right now? Do I accept and validate myself? How? How can I improve on this? Where are the blessings in my life right now? How can I show gratitude for these blessings? How am I supporting my own spiritual renewal? Can I improve on this? How? For us, here at Sangoma Society, how we will be leaning into the opportunity presented by this eclipse is with clearing into consciousness. And we've spoken so much about letting go. Clearing into consciousness came as work for grieving the past. And when it was time to begin teaching clearing into consciousness in a digital platform, the ancestors brought it forward as work for helping people to grieve through the devastation of what we've passed through these past 3 years. And now we're once again reset to confronting grief. And really being given an opportunity to walk out of this season of grief and into the next. And that is what clearing into consciousness is for. If you haven't done clearing before, it is our 3-day full moon ritual. Under my guidance, we use drum meditation, we use candle work, we use the support of your ancestors. You receive explicit instructions on how to call in your ancestors, guided meditations on how that help to facilitate communication between yourself and your ancestors, and clear instructions from your shadow self, your higher self, on how to integrate what it is they need from you now in order to connect with your ancestors where you are in this moment, so that you can release what you need to release. With their help, set it down and walk into your next clearer of what it is that you're here to do. And for the first 10 sign-ups with this cycle of clearing into consciousness, we will be including the year planner for 2024. The Sangoma Society African Astrology Year Planner is going to be available for pre-sale from this Friday, the 27th of October. And I'm so excited to share this book with you. I'm hoping that it's going to give you everything that the Restful Reset gave us this year, and a little bit more, just space for practical application, including where we get to journal, these journal prompts that we get, where we're able to set our intention with every new moon and full moon, and thereby giving you a framework in which you can steadily assess your progress over the course of the year 2024, and really be able to deepen this relationship that you're building with yourself and your ancestors. Because I cannot express how important it is to have a system in which you're able to track the relationship and remember the various transits astrologically, what was influencing you, the events that happened in your own life that were notable for you, and how those things impacted you and how you dealt with them. And being able to observe yourself in this way gives you such a deeper understanding of yourself. And when you have a deeper understanding of yourself, you have the first step towards having a deeper understanding of your ancestors. And when you build that relationship with that knowledge of self, it's on a foundation that isn't easily shaken by external events. Because external events will come. Things do happen that are beyond our control, that are parts and parcel of our destiny. But in all that, we can still choose what it is that we hold on to, that we cleave to in our times of trouble, that we go to when we seek wisdom. And that's within us. It's possible for all of us. And I really hope that the resources that we provide to you help you to deepen this relationship with yourself and your ancestors. I am so looking forward to seeing you inside clearing into consciousness for this spectacular cycle with this lunar eclipse in Taurus. And I hope this offering has watered your garden. Until next time, Mabukai.